My baby shower turned into my brother's college party, so I kicked them all out. The day that was supposed to be mine. They say your baby shower is supposed to be this soft, glowing afternoon. Pastel-colored cupcakes, light laughter, warm hugs from women who remember their own baby showers and now want to shower you with kindness. That's what I imagined. That's what I held on to through the backaches and swollen feet, through work emails and sleepless nights. Just one day, one quiet, meaningful day. Something that was finally about me. I didn't want anything extravagant. No fancy venue, no professional caterer. I just wanted the living room to smell like fresh flowers instead of old takeout. I wanted the music to be gentle. I wanted the cake to say, "Welcome, baby Harper," in soft buttercream letters. So I planned it myself, bought the food, designed the invitations on Canva, even set up the folding chairs I borrowed from my neighbor. I scrubbed every inch of the apartment the night before, 32 weeks pregnant, sweating in a tank top, vacuuming with one hand, and holding my lower back with the other. No one offered to help, and that should have told me something. My name's Olivia. I'm 31. I run a small but steady online boutique selling curated, eco-friendly home goods. The kind of things I used to think only Pinterest moms bought. Now they're the core of how I pay my bills. I've been living in this 2-bedroom house in Sacramento for 2 years now. Bought it myself. Well, I say that, but if you asked my parents, they'd probably say, we all kind of bought it together. Even though the mortgage is in my name. Even though I pay every utility bill. Even though the down payment came from money I saved over 6 years while working 3 jobs. But they moved in last year with promises. Just for a few months. We'll help out. We won't get in the way. Anyway, back to the shower. The party was supposed to start at 2 o'clock. By 1:45, I'd lit the candles and turned on the soft playlist, acoustic covers mostly. I imagined my baby girl hearing these same melodies someday, drifting off to sleep in my arms. I wore a cream-colored maternity dress and a dusty rose sash that said Mama to Be. My cousin Lacey gave it to me. She's the one person in the family who always shows up without making me feel like I owe her something. She arrived first, holding a box wrapped in tissue paper and a card with a tiny giraffe on it. Inside the box, a hand-knit blanket in sage green. I thought this would go with your nursery, she said. She actually remembered. More guests trickled in. An aunt who brought baby books. A family friend from church who brought lavender lotion and burp cloths. People hugged me, smiled. Even my mom seemed soft, calm. I started to believe maybe this time will be different. Until my brother Aaron walked in. He wasn't supposed to be there. He'd told me the week before that he wasn't into baby stuff and probably wouldn't come. But suddenly, there he was, button-down shirt, half tucked in, grinning like he had a secret. He was holding an envelope. I felt my stomach turn before anything even happened, like my body knew something I didn't yet. At 3:15, my mom tapped her wine glass with a fork. Everyone turned. She stood up, arm looped through my dad's, her voice syrupy sweet. Before we cut the cake, we just want to share a little surprise with you all. No, 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 no. That tone, that look, I'd seen it before. During my high school graduation, when Aaron had announced he'd started a band. During my 28th birthday, when my mom revealed she and dad were downsizing and moving in with me. It was happening again. Aaron stepped forward, holding up the envelope like it was the Olympic torch. I got in, he beamed. Full acceptance. UCLA. Electrical engineering. Applause. Gasps. Someone actually cheered, like he'd just proposed. I stood there, holding a cup of ginger tea, frozen in place. My baby shower, my one single afternoon, had just been hijacked by a college acceptance letter. You know how you can feel a shift in a room? Not hear it. Feel it, like all the air molecules suddenly start spinning in a different direction. Chairs moved. The photo booth backdrop I'd taped up was suddenly in the way. They moved it. The snack table? Now a congrats Aaron zone. Someone asked if they could turn the music up. They meant Aaron's playlist. And then came his friends. 4 guys in backwards caps, shouting and laughing like it was senior week. They brought their own speaker. Bass-heavy EDM drowned out the acoustic playlist I'd spent hours curating. My cousin Lacey gave me a look. A sad one. She knew, but neither of us said anything. My cake, the one with pink roses and Welcome Baby Harper, piped in script, sat untouched. Someone asked if they could make space on the table, and my mom said, "Oh, let's cut it later. No rush." The next thing I knew, a soda can had tipped and spilled across the cake box. I grabbed a napkin, then another. The frosting was smeared. I got down on my knees to blot it before it dried. While I was crouched there, 8 months pregnant, someone stepped over me to hug Aaron. They didn't say excuse me. They didn't see me. And that was the moment. Not when Aaron made the announcement. Not when they turned the music up. Not even when they pushed the gifts into the corner. It was when I was on my knees, cleaning their mess, and no one even looked down. After everyone left, or maybe when I left them, I went to my room, sat on the edge of the bed, back aching, feet pulsing, but my mind completely still. And then I opened a folder I'd been working on for weeks. It was time. The Invisible Sister Chronicles. They say childhood defines you, shapes you, leaves fingerprints on how you love, how you grieve, how you fight for yourself, or don't. Looking back, I don't think I ever had a moment where I realized I was invisible. It wasn't a sudden thing. It was a slow fade, like color draining from a photograph. So gradually, you almost don't notice it's gone, until you're holding something gray and lifeless in your hands. I was the firstborn, Olivia June Carter, the easy baby, as my mom liked to say. Quiet, slept through the night, didn't cry unless I was really hungry. I learned to read early, followed the rules, cleaned up my toys without being asked. There were photos of me everywhere. Me in a pink onesie, me on my 3rd birthday, me holding a tiny plastic phone with a serious look on my face. But then came Aaron, and things shifted. At first, it was subtle. Be gentle, Olivia. He's smaller. You're older. You should know better. Let your brother go first. He's still learning. It all made sense in the moment, and I tried. God, I tried so hard to be good, to be the helper, the example. Aaron was loud, demanding. He'd throw tantrums in stores until he got what he wanted, break things, blame me, and somehow, it always circled back to me. When he snapped my favorite doll in half at age 4, I was scolded for not sharing. Like when he poured juice on my homework, I was told, "You should have kept it out of his reach." When I got upset, it was, "Olivia, stop making a scene." But I didn't push back. I wanted to be liked. I wanted their approval so badly. I swallowed everything. The slights, the disappointments, the buried anger that sometimes kept me awake long after the nightlight flickered off. In school, I excelled. Not because I wanted to outshine anyone, but because it felt like the only place I existed. I brought home A's and spelling bee ribbons, science fair, certificates, perfect attendance records. My teachers loved me. My parents, they nodded, said good job, and went back to helping Aaron with his math worksheets. When Aaron brought home a participation trophy from a little league game, they threw him a pizza party. I still remember sitting there, nibbling on cold cheese pizza, watching him unwrap a Nerf gun while my mom beamed. "He tried so hard," she kept saying. "Didn't he do great?" I didn't ask why my second place spelling bee ribbon only earned me a maybe next year. I already knew the answer. By middle school, the difference wasn't just emotional, it was material. Aaron had the newest video game consoles, brand name sneakers, even a private tutor when he struggled with algebra. I wore hand-me-downs from a cousin 2 states away and tutored myself through math with a stack of library books. "You're so independent," my dad would say. "We don't have to worry about you." That was supposed to be a compliment. It felt like a sentence. I remember asking to go to art camp one summer. Just 1 week. I'd saved part of my allowance, even clipped coupons for the supplies list. My mom laughed. "Honey, that's cute, but we can't afford that right now. Maybe next year." 2 weeks later, Aaron signed up for soccer and needed new cleats, a registration fee, and a physical exam. They didn't blink, but I adapted. I always adapted. I found joy in small things, drawing in notebooks I hid under my bed, creating playlists for moods I didn't know how to name, writing stories where the quiet girl always got seen in the end. At 16, I asked about college, not Harvard or Yale, just the local state university. I remember my mom's face, blank, then amused. "College? For what? So you can waste 4 years and come out in debt?" My dad added, "You're better off getting a job, something stable. Maybe you can help around here more." So I did. I applied everywhere. Retail, groceries, restaurants. I got a job at a discount clothing store 3 bus rides away. I worked evenings and weekends, sometimes until midnight, folding jeans while listening to other girls my age talk about prom dresses and campus tours. I told myself it was temporary, just for now. When I got into a minor car accident on my way to work at 17, just a fender bender, no one hurt, I called my mom. She sighed, told me I should have been more careful, and hung up. 2 years later, Aaron bumped into a parked car at the mall. My dad left work early, bought him ice cream, and told everyone at dinner how mature he was for calling right away. I never asked for much. Maybe that was the problem. I didn't scream. I didn't rebel. I didn't storm out. I just faded. I worked long hours, then stayed up late packing orders for my small reselling business. I taught myself graphic design, customer service, how to build a website from scratch. No one asked how it was going. By the time I was 25, the business had grown enough to pay rent on my first apartment. I didn't celebrate with anyone. I bought myself a chocolate muffin and lit a candle in the kitchen. The thing about being the responsible one is that everyone starts to assume you'll always be okay. They don't check in. They don't ask. They just take. Not out of malice, maybe, but out of habit. And you let them, because saying no feels like betrayal, and asking for help feels like weakness. When I bought the house at 29, it was the biggest thing I'd ever done. I didn't tell my parents right away. I invited them over, handed them the keys, and said, "This is mine." My mom cried. My dad nodded. And then they moved in 3 weeks later. They didn't ask. They didn't offer to pay rent. It was just understood. Just until we get back on our feet. Except they never really tried. The bills piled up in my name. The fridge emptied faster. And Aaron, he visited often. With laundry, with friends, with problems. When I found out I was pregnant, I was scared. Not of motherhood. I had always wanted to be a mom someday. But of how I would do it. Alone, tired, and still invisible. I remember telling them, my parents. One evening after dinner, my mom blinked. "Oh, I guess that's happening." My dad asked if the father was involved. I said no. He nodded. No congratulations. No hug. No questions. They told Aaron over tacos the next night. He laughed. "Guess we'll have to baby-proof the Xbox." I didn't cry. I didn't react. I just kept moving, because that's what I always did. They told me I was lucky to live at home during pregnancy, conveniently forgetting that I owned the house, that I paid for everything, even a chunk of Aaron's test prep fees. I didn't argue. I didn't push back. But a part of me started to prepare, quietly. I researched legal eviction procedures. I reviewed the deed, the bills. I started tracking things. Dates, amounts, who said what. I opened a folder on my computer and labeled it someday. The baby inside me grew. So did my clarity. I didn't want my daughter to grow up thinking love meant being quiet, or that family meant losing yourself to keep the peace. I didn't want her to see me cleaning up other people's messes while no one noticed. I wanted her to see strength, boundaries, self-respect. So I kept smiling. I kept helping. I kept saying, "Sure, no problem," all while building toward the day I'd finally say, "No, this is mine. You don't get to take it from me anymore." It wasn't one big thing that pushed me there. It was every little thing, every missed thank you, every passed over birthday, every moment I bit my tongue because it was easier than explaining how much it hurt. They say you can't heal what you don't name. I had named it now, and I was ready. Ready to stop disappearing in my own life. Ready to be seen. The house I bought became theirs. Buying a house was never about status for me. It wasn't a milestone I chased because someone told me to. It was survival. It was safety. It was the first time in my life I felt like I could exhale. I had been renting a one-bedroom apartment near downtown Sacramento for years. It was nothing fancy. White walls, thin carpet, leaky sink, but it was mine. I paid for it with earnings from my online shop, late nights, packaging eco-friendly kitchen sets, and essential oil diffusers, typing thank you notes to strangers with usernames like Mama Bear 83 and Plant Queen LA, the kind of people who never saw my face but kept my lights on. At 28, I was already tired in ways I couldn't explain to my friends, the few that were still around. I wasn't just physically exhausted, I was mentally exhausted from carrying things no one else seemed to notice. Financial stress, emotional caretaking, the pressure of being the one who never needed help. Still, I saved. Every spare dollar went into a folder marked home. No vacations, no luxury bags. I didn't drink. I didn't go out. I invested in bubble mailers, in faster shipping labels, in bulk buying bamboo dish racks. I watched webinars on taxes and credit scores. I read articles about closing costs in the parking lot of the post office. And eventually, I did it. A 2-bedroom, 1,200 square foot house on the edge of town. Modest, with peeling paint and a weedy lawn, but solid, with light, with possibility. I didn't tell my parents right away. I wanted to hold it for myself, just for a moment. I wanted to walk the hardwood floors and imagine what it would be like to drink tea on my own front porch without hearing someone ask me for something. When I finally invited them over, it wasn't to announce it, it was to show it. I handed my mom a set of keys. My dad clapped me on the back. "Now your brother has a place to crash when he visits," he said. That should have been a warning sign. But I laughed, because it was easier than saying, "This isn't his." 3 weeks later, they moved in. No real discussion, no formal request, just, "The lease is up, and we need a little time to figure things out, and you have the space." At first, I told myself it was temporary. I told myself I was being a good daughter. I told myself it was the right thing to do. My mom cleaned the kitchen. My dad watered the grass. They cooked dinner a few times a week and asked about my day, like they were trying, like they knew they'd lost something and were trying to earn it back. But slowly, quietly, it shifted. My toothbrush disappeared from the bathroom cup. My towels were moved to the hall closet. My favorite mug ended up in the garage for some reason. The playlist I used to play while packing orders was replaced by the sound of my dad's old sports radio station echoing through the walls. The kitchen filled with the smells of foods I didn't eat anymore. The freezer crammed with frozen dinners. The fridge shelves rearranged. My bedroom was still mine, but every other part of the house, it became theirs. They called it our house in front of friends, told family members that they'd helped me get on my feet. My mom referred to the guest room as your father's office, even though he didn't work. My dad called the living room his spot when football was on. I stopped correcting them. I didn't want the argument. I didn't want the exhaustion. I told myself, it's just words. But every time they said it, a tiny piece of ownership chipped away. Not just legal ownership, but emotional, psychological. The deep sense of this is mine, which is so rare and so sacred when you've always felt disposable. Aaron came by often. At first, it was just for Sunday dinners. Then he started bringing laundry. Then he started staying the night. Then the weekends. "It's just easier," he said, than driving back to his dorm. Except he wasn't living in a dorm anymore. He was staying with a friend across town. But my house had space. My fridge had food. My parents were here. It felt like home to him, not to me. I stopped using the living room. I stopped playing music in the kitchen. I started working from my bedroom, surrounded by shipping boxes. My printer humming like a heartbeat in a space that used to be peaceful. One night, I got up to get water at 2 a.m. and found Aaron and 2 of his friends playing video games in the dark, the screen flickering across their faces. I stood there in silence. He paused the game and said, "Sorry, we didn't think you'd be up," then unpaused. I went back to my room without a word. It's strange, isn't it? How a house can feel less like a home with every person who claims it without earning it. how generosity can turn into guilt, how silence can feel like erasure. When I found out I was pregnant, I told no one for 3 days. I stared at the positive test on the bathroom counter and whispered, "It's okay. You're safe. I've got you." Because the first person I wanted to protect wasn't myself. It was her. I finally told them over dinner, somewhere between the mashed potatoes and the rerun of a cooking show playing in the background. My mom blinked. "Oh, I guess that's happening." My dad asked if the father was involved. I said no. They nodded, then asked if I could pick up groceries the next day. No excitement, no outrage, no warmth, just logistics. I didn't cry. I'd already done that part alone. In the shower, in the car, at 3 a.m., while researching bassinets I could afford on my budget. Aaron laughed when they told him, "Hope the baby doesn't cry as loud as you used to." He said it like a joke, like a brother would. I didn't laugh. As my belly grew, my space shrank. The house that was supposed to be my sanctuary became a dorm, a family hub, a free hotel. My business kept us afloat, but no one acknowledged that. My parents used my Wi-Fi, ate the food I bought, ran the AC all day while I packed orders in a stifling room. They thanked me sometimes, but it was always passive. "You're such a good daughter. We're lucky to have you. Not everyone would do this." But they never asked what I needed. They never offered rent. They never once said, "Are you okay?" When I told them I was thinking of hiring part-time help for the shop, so I could rest in my 3rd trimester, my dad frowned. "Are you sure you can afford that? What about Aaron's application fees?" I didn't answer, because what could I say? No, I can't afford it, because I'm feeding and housing 3 grown adults who think I owe them something for existing. Instead, I smiled, said I'd think about it, then went back to my room and opened the folder I kept in my bottom drawer, labeled "Someday." Inside, copies of the deed, utility bills, receipts, notes on conversations, rental agreements from the county housing website, legal templates for eviction notices, guidelines for timelines and delivery. At night, I read them like bedtime stories. I wasn't sure when I would act, but I knew I would, because this house was supposed to be mine. And somehow, without even raising their voices, without breaking a single law, they had taken it from me. One unspoken assumption at a time. One missed thank you. One hijacked room. One dinner where I wasn't asked how my day went. I didn't want to be a martyr. I didn't want to be dramatic. But I also didn't want to raise a daughter in a home where her mother was invisible. I didn't want her to think love was about erasure. That family meant entitlement. That motherhood meant losing yourself. So I prepared, quietly, carefully. I smiled when they walked into the room. I said, "Of course," when they needed rides, or laundry detergent, or printer paper. But inside, I was sharpening something. Not anger, clarity. And soon, I would use it. The straw that broke everything. It started the way I hoped it would. Soft sunlight spilling through the living room windows. A few early guests trickling in with pastel-colored gift bags. The smell of lemon bars I'd baked from scratch the night before. Something light, not too sweet. I'd even made little place cards for the snack table, labeling each treat with a floral-themed font I downloaded just for this day. I was 32 weeks pregnant. My ankles were swollen, and my lower back throbbed every time I stood too long. But I didn't mind. Not that morning, because for the first time in years, I was allowing myself to hope. Hope that they would see me, that this day would be about something other than convenience. Hope that I wasn't invisible anymore. I wore a flowing, cream-colored dress I'd ordered online 2 months ago, saved in the back of my closet until today. The pink mama-to-be sash my cousin Lacey gifted me rested gently across my belly. She was the first to arrive, early as always. She brought a tiny fox plushie and a box of hand-me-down books she said her own daughter had outgrown. "Thought Harper might like these," she said, smiling, "and I figured maybe this day could be about you for once." I wanted to cry when she said that, but I didn't. I just hugged her tighter than I usually do. By 2:30, the living room was comfortably full. Soft acoustic music played in the background. Songs I'd picked out weeks in advance, imagining what my daughter might fall asleep to one day. The lavender candles flickered gently on the mantel. Even my mother seemed unusually serene. She poured wine for a few guests, made light conversation, complimented the food. I let myself believe, just for a moment, that this day would go how I imagined. Then my mom picked up her wine glass and tapped it with a fork. The room hushed. I stood near the gift table, smiling politely, assuming she was about to thank everyone for coming. "Before we cut the cake," she said, "we have a little surprise." No, not today. Not my day. Aaron stepped forward from the hallway. He held a single envelope like it was a golden ticket. "I got in," he said, beaming. "Full ride. UCLA. Electrical engineering." The room erupted, clapping, shouting, cheers. One of my aunts actually gasped and rushed to hug him. The same aunt who'd been talking to me about nursery colors 15 minutes earlier. The shift in energy was immediate. You could feel it like a heat wave. The party tilted, no, snapped, toward Aaron, like a magnet, like gravity itself had changed direction. The snack table became a buffet of congratulatory high fives. My cake, the one that said, "Welcome, baby Harper," sat untouched in the corner. The mom-to-be balloons sagged quietly behind a crowd, now surrounding my brother. Then came the music. His friends, loud, laughing, baseball-capped teenage boys, piled into the house like they'd just been told a party was free, and the drinks unlimited. One of them pulled out a Bluetooth speaker the size of a shoebox. Within seconds, the room pulsed with bass-heavy hip-hop, drowning out my carefully curated playlist of lullabies and love songs. I stood in the middle of it all, still holding a cup of ginger tea someone had handed me earlier, still wearing my soft pink sash like a badge of something no one else seemed to care about. People moved the gifts I'd arranged so neatly off the main table to make space for beer bottles and party cups. My mom leaned in and said casually, "We'll cut the cake later, once things settle down." But they never did. Someone knocked over a soda bottle near the cake. It fizzed and tipped, trailing sticky liquid down the side of the box. I grabbed a napkin, then another. The frosting had smeared across the corner. I knelt down, 8 months pregnant, to wipe it clean before it dried. While I was down there, someone stepped over me to hug Aaron. They didn't say, "Excuse me." They didn't see me. I stayed on my knees for a few seconds longer than necessary, just crouched there in the corner, hands sticky with icing, breathing deeply through my nose while they laughed and shouted over my head. I could hear Aaron in the next room talking about dorm assignments. My mom bragging about the tutors they hired to help him reach his potential. The same mom who once told me college was a scam. The same mom who told me to work at a supermarket, and I did. While Aaron played soccer and got birthday laptops, I folded clothes at a discount store and fell asleep packing orders for my tiny online business. I paid the bills. I bought this house. And yet, they still treated me like I was lucky just to live here. They had no idea. But I had been preparing for this moment longer than they realized. I stood up slowly. My knees cracked. My lower back ached. I looked around the room. My baby shower had been erased. The Harper banner I'd strung across the fireplace was pushed to the side. Someone had hung a hand-drawn sign over it that said, "Congrats, Aaron." I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I walked to the kitchen, washed my hands, dried them on a dish towel, went to my room, closed the door behind me. The music thumped down the hall, like a heartbeat that didn't belong to me. I sat on the edge of the bed, removed the sash from my shoulder, and folded it neatly. Then I opened the drawer, pulled out the folder. Everything I needed was already inside. Copies of the deed, the eviction notices, the timelines, the county forms, the certified mail receipts waiting to be signed and sealed. I had waited for the right moment, not because I was unsure, but because I knew that once I chose to act, there was no going back. I used to think family was about forgiveness, about patience, about giving people second and third and 10th chances, because blood was thicker than disappointment. But now I knew better. Blood doesn't entitle anyone to steal your joy. Blood doesn't mean you owe them your space, your silence, your baby shower. They had turned my celebration into noise, into chaos, into something that belonged to someone else. But tomorrow, the house would belong to me again, even if they didn't know it yet. Rebuilding and rediscovery. In the days following her family's departure, Lily found herself enveloped in an unfamiliar yet comforting silence. The house, once a battleground of conflicting emotions and unmet expectations, now stood as a sanctuary of peace and potential. Each room echoed with the promise of new beginnings, free from the shadows of past grievances. Lily immersed herself in preparing for her daughter's arrival. The nursery, once a neglected space, transformed into a haven of warmth and love. Soft hues adorned the walls, and carefully chosen furnishings spoke of a mother's devotion. Every detail, from the hand-stitched curtains to the meticulously organized closet, was a testament to Lily's commitment to providing a nurturing environment. Her business, which had long been a source of both pride and contention, became a focal point of her renewed energy. Without the constant drain of familial obligations, Lily channeled her efforts into expansion and innovation. She reached out to her customer base, engaging with them on a more personal level, and introduced new product lines that resonated with her growing audience. The fruits of her labor were evident as sales flourished, and her brand gained recognition beyond her expectations. Amidst her professional pursuits, Lily prioritized her well-being. Prenatal yoga classes introduced her to a community of supportive women, each navigating their own journeys into motherhood. These connections blossomed into friendships, offering Lily a network of understanding and encouragement. She attended workshops on parenting, delving into topics that both excited and intimidated her, and found solace in the shared experiences of others. Yet, despite the positive strides, Moments of solitude brought reflections of the past. Memories of her family's presence lingered, accompanied by a complex mix of relief and residual sadness. Lily acknowledged these feelings, understanding that healing was a process, and allowed herself the grace to grieve the family dynamics she had wished for, but never experienced. One evening, as she sat in the nursery rocking chair, gently caressing her burgeoning belly, Lily felt a profound sense of connection with her unborn child. She spoke softly, sharing her hopes and dreams, and made a silent vow to break the cycle of neglect and favoritism. This child would know unconditional love, unwavering support, and the freedom to forge her own path. As the due date approached, Lily's preparations culminated in a baby shower organized by her newfound friends. Unlike the previous attempt, marred by family discord, this gathering was intimate and heartfelt. Laughter filled the air, and genuine joy permeated the atmosphere. Lily felt deeply cherished, surrounded by individuals who celebrated her journey and the impending arrival of her daughter. The experience reinforced a vital realization. Family is not solely defined by blood, but by those who uplift, respect, and stand by you. Lily's circle may have shifted, but it was now composed of relationships built on mutual care and authenticity. In the quiet moments before sleep, Lily often reflected on the tumultuous path that led her here. Each challenge had been a stepping stone, guiding her towards self-discovery and empowerment. She had reclaimed her life, her home, and her sense of self-worth. The future, once clouded by uncertainty, now gleamed with promise and the boundless possibilities of motherhood. Embracing motherhood. The day arrived when Lily welcomed her daughter, Emma, into the world. The labor was intense, yet every contraction brought her closer to the moment she had longed for. Holding Emma in her arms for the first time, Lily was overwhelmed with an indescribable love, a love that transcended all past pain and filled every corner of her being. Motherhood was a journey of discovery. The sleepless nights, the tender moments of breastfeeding, the soft coos and cries, all were new experiences that Lily embraced wholeheartedly. She marveled at Emma's tiny fingers grasping hers, the way her eyes seemed to search for her mother's face, and the peaceful expression that settled over her when she slept. Lily's friends continued to be pillars of support, offering advice, lending helping hands, and simply being there during moments of doubt or exhaustion. They celebrated Emma's milestones together, from her first smile to her tentative steps, creating memories that Lily cherished deeply. Balancing her business with motherhood was a challenge, but Lily approached it with determination and grace. She set boundaries, learned to delegate tasks, and prioritized her time effectively. Her customers responded positively to her transparency about being a working mother, and many expressed admiration for her ability to juggle both roles. As Emma grew, so did Lily's confidence in her parenting. She read to her daughter daily, instilling a love for stories and imagination. They took walks in the park, explored nature, and Lily introduced Emma to the simple joys of life. Every day was an opportunity to teach, to learn, and to bond. Lily also made a conscious effort to document their journey. She kept a journal, capturing moments, thoughts, and feelings, knowing that one day Emma would appreciate the chronicle of their early years together. Photographs adorned their home, each telling a story of love, growth, and resilience. Despite the joy There were moments when Lily's thoughts drifted to her family. She wondered if they thought of her, if they missed Emma, if they regretted their actions. But she knew that reaching out was not the answer. The boundaries she had set were necessary for her well-being and for Emma's future. She had created a safe, loving environment, free from toxicity, and she was determined to maintain it. Lily's journey was not just about becoming a mother. It was about becoming the woman she was always meant to be. Strong, independent, loving, and unapologetically herself. She had faced adversity and emerged stronger, ready to provide her daughter with the life she deserved. New beginnings. As the years passed, Lily and Emma's bond deepened. Emma blossomed into a curious, compassionate child, her laughter filling their home with warmth and joy. Lily took immense pride in watching her daughter grow, each day revealing new facets of her personality and potential. Lily's business continued to thrive, a testament to her hard work and dedication. She became a mentor to other aspiring entrepreneurs, especially single mothers looking to carve out their own paths, sharing her experiences, both the triumphs and the challenges. She inspired others to pursue their dreams, despite the obstacles they might face. Their home became a hub of love and learning. Lily ensured that Emma was exposed to diverse experiences, enrolling her in art classes, music lessons, and encouraging her interests, whatever they might be. They traveled together, exploring new places and cultures, creating memories that would last a lifetime. Lily also made time for herself, understanding that self-care was crucial. She rekindled old hobbies, took up new ones, and occasionally enjoyed quiet moments of solitude. These practices rejuvenated her spirit, allowing her to be the best mother she could be. Throughout it all, the absence of her biological family became less of a void and more of a reminder of how far she had come. Lily had built a family of choice, surrounded by friends who uplifted and supported her. She had created a life filled with love, respect, and authenticity. Emma often asked about their extended family, and Lily answered her questions with honesty, tailored to her level of understanding. She emphasized the importance of kindness, forgiveness, and the idea that family is defined by love and actions, not just by blood. Lily's journey was a testament to what it means to reclaim your narrative. She had turned pain into purpose, silence into strength. She no longer measured her worth by how much she could endure, but by how boldly she could live in her truth. And although there were days when old wounds ached, holidays when she felt the ghost of what might have been, or when Emma would draw a family tree with fewer branches, Lily did not let grief rewrite the joy she had built. She honored the ache, then returned to the present, where her daughter's smile and their laughter together painted over the shadows. One evening, as they sat on the porch watching the sky shift into sunset, Emma turned to her and said, "Mom, I think our house is the happiest place in the whole world." Lily smiled, a quiet, full-circle kind of smile. Not long ago, that same house had felt like a prison, made of unspoken resentment and swallowed dreams. Now, it was freedom. Not because someone gave it to her, but because she fought for it. Because she chose peace over performance. Because she chose herself. And because, in choosing herself, she created a home where her daughter would never have to question if she mattered. The kind of home Lily had always needed, and finally built. The house finally breathes. It was a quiet morning when Lily realized something had changed. Not a dramatic shift, Not a thunderclap of awareness, but a soft, almost imperceptible stillness in the air. The kind of stillness that didn't feel empty, but peaceful, like the house had finally exhaled after holding its breath for far too long. Emma was 5 now. Her laughter filled the kitchen as she struggled to open a new box of crayons. The windows were cracked open, letting in the breeze and the sound of birds, and the scent of pancakes lingered on the stove. Lily stood by the sink, coffee in hand, watching her daughter scribble flowers and clouds across a blank sheet of paper. The room looked brighter, though the light hadn't changed. Maybe it was just that there were no shadows left in the corners, no tension clinging to the walls. Just her and her daughter. Just this moment. She no longer thought about the baby shower. Not often, anyway. When she did, it wasn't with bitterness, but with clarity. That day, for all its cruelty, had been the beginning of her becoming. She had not just kicked her family out of the house. She had kicked out guilt. She had kicked out shame. She had kicked out the belief that love must always come with sacrifice and silence. In the years since, Lily had built something sacred, not perfect, not always easy, but real. Her business had grown steadily. She'd hired 2 part-time employees and reduced her hours to spend more time with Emma. She had a small garden now. She'd painted the nursery into a big girl room with rainbow shelves and twinkle lights. The room that once held whispers of fear now held bedtime stories and giggles. Lily never heard from her parents again. Not directly. A few cousins occasionally passed along updates. How Aaron had dropped out after 1 year, how their parents had moved in with an uncle and quickly worn out their welcome. Bills unpaid, complaints mounting, familiar patterns. She didn't feel triumphant. She didn't feel sad either. She felt whole, and that was enough. One Saturday evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Lily sat out on the porch with a cup of tea. She scrolled through old photos on her phone. Baby Harper's first bath, her first steps, the day she started preschool. All the things no one in her original family had seen. Then she opened her journal and wrote, "This house used to feel like a battleground. Now it feels like a home. And for the first time in my life, I didn't win by fighting. I won by walking away." The stars came out quietly that night, and so did Lily's breath, steady, full, and free. The house didn't just belong to her anymore. It belonged to peace. It belonged to possibility. It belonged to a little girl with a purple crayon, drawing a future where love meant safety, laughter, and never having to earn your place. And that was the ending Lily never dared to dream of, until now. Full story reflection. The journey of Lily, from erased to empowered. This isn't just a story about a baby shower gone wrong. It's not just about a brother stealing the spotlight or a family overstaying their welcome. It's not even just about one woman kicking everyone out of a house she paid for. This is a story about what happens when you're expected to give everything and stay quiet about it. A story about a woman who was raised to believe that being invisible was the price of love, and how one moment, one party, one ruined cake became the beginning of something so much more, her rebirth. Lily's life had always revolved around others. As the oldest child in her family, she was the responsible one, the easy one, the one who didn't complain. That role was assigned to her early, and she wore it like a second skin. She excelled in school, followed the rules, helped around the house, stayed out of trouble. Her parents never had to worry about her, and maybe that's why they didn't. Instead, they poured their time, attention, and money into her younger brother, Aaron. He was louder, more demanding, more visible. And so he got more support, more investment, more understanding, while Lily learned to shrink, to sacrifice, to smile through being overlooked. It wasn't just big moments that defined the imbalance. It was thousands of little ones. A broken doll blamed on her. A spelling bee ribbon dismissed. Her college dreams laughed at. When Aaron got a participation trophy, he got pizza. When Lily brought home straight A's, she got silence. She started working at 16, not because she wanted to, but because her parents told her college wasn't worth it. She paid bills, saved money, built a business out of her bedroom. She made something from nothing. She grew something real. And when she bought her first home at 29, a quiet 2-bedroom in Sacramento, it wasn't with fanfare. She invited her parents over, handed them the keys, and said, "This is mine." They moved in 3 weeks later. What was supposed to be her sanctuary became theirs, slowly, without a fight, without a conversation. It started with toothbrushes moved, mugs missing, grocery lists added to without asking. Then came the assumptions. Our house, your father's office. We're lucky to live here. No rent, no offers to help, just quiet entitlement. And Lily, true to her lifelong role, let it happen. She told herself it was temporary, that she was helping, that maybe, if she gave enough, they'd finally see her. Then came the pregnancy. When Lily found out she was expecting, her first thought wasn't celebration. It was fear. Not fear of the baby, but fear of doing it alone. Because even though she lived with her family, she had never felt more unsupported. When she told her parents, they barely reacted. When she told Aaron, he made a joke. And when she offered to hire help for her business during her 3rd trimester, her father asked if she could still afford to cover Aaron's college application fees. That was the moment something inside her began to shift. Not snap, just shift. Like a door slowly closing on an old room full of dust and silence. She started preparing quietly, collecting documents, researching eviction laws, saving copies. She didn't scream. She didn't demand. She just made a folder and named it Someday. And then someday arrived. It came disguised as a baby shower. The one afternoon Lily had planned for herself. A gentle, homemade celebration. A playlist curated for the child growing inside her. Soft lights, pastel decorations, handmade cupcakes. It was her moment. Until her brother walked in with a college acceptance letter. Until her mother announced it like it was the greatest news anyone had ever heard. Until her cake sat untouched. Until her living room filled with teenage boys and loud music and spilled drinks. Until she knelt, 8 months pregnant, to clean frosting off the floor while someone stepped over her without even saying, "Excuse me." That was the moment. Not the announcement, not the music, not the crowd. The moment was when Lily realized she was once again on her knees, invisible in her own story, surrounded by people who didn't see her, and probably never had. That night, she made her choice. She pulled out the folder, the deed, the notices, the plan. And the next morning, while the kitchen still smelled of spilled soda and her cake sat ruined on the counter, she laid out the papers with 3 names printed in bold ink. When her mother found them, she screamed. When her father read them, he said it was a joke. When her brother asked, "What the hell is wrong with you?" Lily answered with a calm that had taken years to earn. "I'm taking my house back." They called her heartless. They said she'd regret it. They accused her of overreacting, but she didn't flinch, because this wasn't about one party. This was about every moment that led to it. The ones where she was told to be patient, to be quiet, to be the example. The ones where she paid the bills and got called lucky to live at home. The ones where she begged for recognition with good grades, hard work, and silent loyalty, only to be forgotten. This time, she didn't shrink. She held the line. 30 days later, the house was hers again. Physically, legally, emotionally. Not because someone gave it to her, but because she took it back. The years that followed weren't perfect. They weren't easy, but they were hers. She raised her daughter, Emma, in a home filled with light, boundaries, and laughter. She grew her business. She rested when she needed to. She surrounded herself with people who celebrated her, not just when she succeeded, but when she simply existed. And that is what made all the difference. The lesson, what Lily's story teaches us about self-worth. Lily's story is deeply personal, but also universal. It speaks to anyone who's ever been the responsible one, the helper, the person others leaned on until there was nothing left to give. It speaks to those who were raised to believe that love must be earned with silence and sacrifice, who were told they were strong, but only so they could carry the weight for everyone else, who were praised for how much they endured, but never seen for how much they were hurting. What Lily teaches us is this: there comes a time when protecting your peace becomes more important than preserving appearances. There comes a time when you must choose between being liked and being whole. And there comes a time when walking away isn't giving up, it's growing up. Lily didn't take back her house to prove a point. She took it back because her daughter deserved to grow up, watching a mother who valued herself. She didn't want Emma to think that being good meant being silent, that love meant being useful, that home meant tolerating disrespect. And neither should you. You're allowed to set boundaries, even with family. You're allowed to say no, even when they say you're overreacting. You're allowed to ask, "What about me?" without guilt. Because peace is not selfish. It's sacred. And sometimes the most powerful act of love is saying, "This ends with me." Final note, from our story to yours. If Lily's journey moved you, if you saw even a sliver of yourself in her strength, her silence, her breakthrough, then we hope this story reminded you of your own power. You are not alone. You are not crazy. You are not weak for wanting better. You are becoming, and your story deserves to be heard. If you want more stories like Lily's, real, raw, empowering, then please like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and most of all, subscribe to our channel. Your support helps us continue to tell stories that matter, stories that heal, stories that remind us we're not invisible. We're just waiting for the moment we finally say, "Enough." Thank you for being here. Until next time, stay kind, stay strong, and never forget, you deserve to be seen.